Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. I am sure some of you may have seen this video that has been trending where Bernie Sanders went for a live show with Andrew Shaws, Andrew of all people. But I am going to leave that aside. So, what got people really mad and what got people talking is the fact that Bernie Sanders said that. Identity politics, like when you are black, you're a great person, and you are the, you know I don't know how that came out of his mouth, but that is something that I am going to tell you that he's been nurturing. Is something that has been on his mind for a long time, and that came out on that live show. And I am also telling my people this: I am not scared of the thing that particular one that came out from his mouth. I am scared of the ones that we never heard, right? Now, let me tell you something. If you are talking about politics and all that, and you do not talk about identity politics, it means you are not talking about politics, because so far, you and I, that man, and everybody on that couch talking definitely will understand how hard black people have been working to dismantle the system that has been oppressing them, and what have they been up to, what have they been doing to enable that happen. I have said in so many videos that you see, I think a few days ago, that dismantling this system, it's going to be one of the hardest, which you all already have started working on. Why? Because they do not want it to be dismantled. Let's get into
Bernie Sanders proving me right. 2 days ago, I said that Bernie Sanders and David Hogg are not progressive because you cannot center hueless men and be progressive. That's regressive. And the day after I said that, this happened.
Followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the
wow. Okay.
And said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you at it. And you got to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
You're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say what
I need you all to understand that he is intentionally connecting with racist individuals because he agrees with them. Do you hear the way he speaks about minorities? In the end of that last clip, he was saying, instead of it being like, oh, you're black or oh, you're this, it should be about what you do. I need you guys to understand that he's talking about merit. The same thing that the current administration that he is supposedly so against, the same thing that they're doing with doing away with DEI. It's more of the same with a different jacket. And that's why I've said repeatedly that I don't care where you supposedly stand on the political spectrum. Because the conservative leftists, a lot of them think that Bernie's just great. Most of them are racist. And that's why so many Bernie bros went Trump. They're returning home.
Something else that Bernie Sanders has said in that damn interview with that fucking Andrew Schultz that I've heard over and over several times throughout the years. Identity politics. So once and for all, let's talk about identity politics realistically. Okay? I am a college graduate with a bachelor's degree. I'm a veteran with time in both the Army and the Navy. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I am a husband. I am a brother, and I am a son. I am a co-owner of a radio station. I have several shows on said radio station, which means I am a host of shows on this radio station. All of that is encompassed by me being black. It's not a result of, it's encompassed in. I could have put who just so happens to be black behind everything I just said. So explain to me, why do I have to turn off that part when I go in the voting booth? Why is that the one part who happens to be black? Why is that the one fucking part I gotta turn off to go in and vote? Why? Explain that to me. Is my life experience not supposed to count when I vote? Because I've had the life experience of the average African American man in America. Is that not, am I not supposed to say something about that while I go in the voting booth? What the fuck is it with Democrats screaming about identity politics? Your entire party is literally peopled by motherfuckers with identities. The Republican Party is the only party that literally, in order for you to be in it, you must literally submit everything else that you are to be a part of the club. If you don't believe me, look at Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Look at Joe Walsh. When they became individualistic, when they started to realize that what was going on in the name of their party was wrong, and they decided to say something about it, they were excommunicated. The Democrats want that same thing? Then what the fuck? Why don't y'all just become Republicans? Call yourself West Side Republicans. Go there. Just go there. Because I'm not about to turn off my life experience as 53 years as a black man in this country so I can win a fucking election. You can elect these nuts. I'm not gonna do it. And no fucking body else should. When you are voting for women's rights issues, are you supposed to forget that you're a woman to do it? That doesn't make any sense. It sounds fucking asinine. If you are a gay or trans person, are you supposed to turn all that off so you can win a fucking election? Or is this supposed to be the motivating factor for why you got your ass up, put on your clothes, and went into a voting booth in the first place? The identity is humanity, man. Everything else is a wellspring from that. Meaning, if I am voting for clean water and clean air, I am voting as a black man thinking about humanity first and profits last. My identity did not have to be negated to be able to make the right fucking decision. It didn't. Cost me nothing. Cost me absolutely nothing. It is what puts me on the left side of political discourse in this country, because the right side would put profits over people. Bottom line, over humanity. But you want me to turn that part of myself off and just vote with the flow. Why? Why? My decision-making process starts as being a black man in America. My decision-making process ends with me being a black man in America. And every decision, every political decision I make, every political decision I talk about starts and ends with that disclaimer. As a black man in America, I'm a business owner, but I am also a black man in America. So I am a business owner who happens to be black, meaning I can think about business, but I can also think about it from the standpoint of the shit that black men like myself have gone through. If Democrats don't stop listening to these fucking idiots, keep pretending like you can win an election by denying what you are. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And your party is going to be peopled by folks who don't give two flying fucks. And you will never get the people again. You will never get the people again. By ignoring identity politics, you can't talk about poverty. Because you will actually have people believing that poverty in the Appalachian Mountains is different than poverty on the south side of Chicago. And it is not. But you can't make the connection between the two unless you talk about the identity. Unless you go to the Appalachian Mountains and talk about poverty and say, hey, your fight against poverty is also being fought literally in the black communities, in the brown communities, in the native and indigenous communities. Showing these people that there is solidarity in fighting poverty and not people. You cannot fight for women's rights and be a fighter for women's rights without your identity. I am a man who is fighting for women's rights. That is my identity. That is me thinking of humanity. And you can't do that by trying to turn it off. We're not automatons, Bernie. We are fucking human beings, flesh and blood. Our decisions are made up by our life experiences. And rather than, once again, doing what normal fucking people would do, which is trying to tap into that, trying to show solidarity in that, trying to show that we can fight these battles by you bringing what you have experienced, mixing it with people who have experienced different things, but all suffer from the same underlying problems. But you want us to turn one off so we can win a fucking election? Fuck an election then. Fuck it. No black woman should have to go into a voting booth and turn off the fact that she's a black woman in America just to win a fucking election. I said what I said. No trans person should have to turn off the fact that they are a trans person to go into a voting booth to win a fucking election. Bitch, fuck that election. I said what I said. This is our fucking problem in this country, especially when it comes to politics on the left. This is our fucking problem right here. It is the fact that over and over and over and over, those who call themselves liberals, those who call themselves progressives, those who call themselves Democrats, want us not to progress, but to win. We gonna go in, we gonna win. But you're not progressing anything. You're aggressive. You're regressive, just like the fucking Republicans. Y'all need to stop this idea that identity is a problem. And you need to stop this idea that having that identity and having a political belief is a problem. It is not. They go hand in fucking hand. But if you're too stupid to understand it, or if you're still hell-bent on trying to get people to tone down who they are and what they've experienced in order to win elections against motherfuckers who are pure robotic assholes, then go be one of them. And leave us the fuck alone. We'll make our own goddamn political party. Because you motherfuckers ain't shit. I said what I said and I ain't taking it the fuck back.
You know, just when I think that Bernie Sanders has some redeeming qualities, just when I think I'm about to like him, something in my soul prevents me from doing so because he goes and does something like this.
And then you get to what we call identity politics. Yeah. That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth. Yeah. And rather than say, what do you...
First of all, to go on that podcast tells me everything I need to know about Bernie Sanders and his team. Because there's no way that Bernie Sanders and his team could have missed the months of criticism regarding Andrew and his fellow podcast hosts and the way in which they've talked about, treated, and criticized and ridiculed Black women, which, if we all know, is the core of the Democratic Party. But then for Bernie Sanders to say that, pretending like what is the unique experience of African Americans in this country, the unique experience of members of the LGBT in this country is something to be made fun of, is something to pretend away, which for me only continues to emulate what we all knew to be true, which is that the Bernie camp is very much sexist and racist.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
You know, is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics.
Yes, class politics plays a huge role regarding the wealth gap in this country. But even within class, there are unique struggles and barriers that are preventing the upward mobility, both for those members of the LGBTQ community and those who are members of the African American community or the Latino community or the disabled community. To pretend those things away only benefits heterosexual white men, i.e. Bernie and Bernie bros. And instead of him using his platform to try to close the divide within class, he continues to spew incorrect information and perspective that only continues to harm and divide us.
I want to talk about something that Bernie said in his interview with Andrew Schultz, where he basically pretty much simplified what identity politics is and why this is problematic. According to Bernie, in that interview, identity politics is you're just a great person because you're black, you're just a great person because you're gay. That oversimplification of what identity politics is something that only can be done by a cis heterosexual white male. What actually is identity politics? Well, identity politics involves political action and discourse that emphasizes the distinct interests and experiences of specific groups based on shared characteristics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. It often focuses on challenging power structures, that's important, and advocating for policies that address the needs of these groups. Now, why did I stress challenging power structures? Well, apparently these anti-capitalist leftists, these progressive leftist white men like Bernie Sanders, are claiming that's what they're doing. They're challenging the power structures. So I find it odd that they have a problem with identity politics that's doing the exact same thing that they claim that they want to do. It is abundantly clear to me. It becomes even more abundantly clear every time I see one of you drop down into my comment section and try to guilt me for something, that you don't actually care about dismantling other systems of oppression that don't include white cis heterosexual men. If you didn't have to address racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, you would never do it. Specifically because it doesn't involve you. You're not being centered, so you don't actually give a fuck about dismantling these systems. If the country is anti-capitalist and racist, how does that benefit me as a black man? Quickly, what you guys don't seem to understand is we've already seen this in U.S. history. What do you think happened during the New Deal era? I pointed this out on so many occasions. White people saw an inherent benefit that was being pushed forth by the progressive government. And black people, because of the jobs that black people overwhelmingly had, were excluded from that inherent benefit. The policies were racist, and black people were being denied these protections that white people got to enjoy. So if the country is racist and anti-capitalist, how does that benefit me as a black person? Bernie oversimplifying what identity politics is really shows that he's not serious about building any coalition. That's the reason why Joe Biden demolished him in the Democratic primary in 2020. Bernie's base did not grow in that election. As much as these leftists, progressives, whatever they want to label themselves as today, Bernie supporters want to pretend that Bernie is the man and everybody loves him. Everybody didn't love him because he lost twice in the Democratic primary. If everybody loved Bernie as much as you guys claim that they love Bernie, Bernie would have been president right now. He's not. He never has been president. And that's why when I hear people on the left in leftist circles try to tell Democrats and liberals and Kamala supporters that they need to listen to them in order to win, I always say, be so fucking for real. Be so fucking for real. Because as popular as Bernie is on the national lexicon of conversations that we have surrounding politics in this country, he wasn't that popular. Neither are a lot of the other people that you guys support. You barely can muster 1% support in any given election. So maybe you need to figure out how to win before you start lecturing Democrats that actually do win, on how they can win. And this is why also I keep telling Democrats to stop going back and forth with you guys, because you are literally fucking delusional. So yeah, Bernie's catering to racists. That's why he was on Andrew's shows. That's why he's miscategorizing or simplifying the definition of what identity politics is, because it sounds good to white, male, MAGA supporting people. That's why he's doing what he's doing. One of the things that's crystal clear when it comes to the whole conversation that we saw with Bernie Sanders and Andrew Schultz is this is just another situation where he's trying to make white men the victim again. The overwhelming majority of Bernie bros happen to be white men. This narrative of white men being the victim, or being ignored, or being targeted, or being made to feel uncomfortable by the Democratic establishment is a bullshit argument. It literally is a bullshit fucking argument. White men vote Republican overwhelmingly not because the Democrats are targeting them or making them feel uncomfortable. White men feel uncomfortable because there's a lot of different groups of people that are at that table that are telling their lived experience in this system that white men created. What's becoming more prevalent, and this is what I'm seeing a lot more online, is this idea of attacking identity politics doesn't have a political affiliation. And that's one of the things that's interesting about this conversation, because it's only white men that are talking about this. White heterosexual men, to be more specific. When they negatively mention or condemn identity politics, they are literally, in a nutshell, telling you that anything that doesn't include white heterosexual men, they don't care about. They don't care about those things. Because white heterosexual men are not the center and they're not the focus of that conversation. So with the Democrats, with them including different groups of people in the conversation, to a lot of these white men, regardless of their political affiliation, the Bernies, the David Hoggs, the Gavin Newsoms, they all occupy the same space where they feel in their heart of hearts that white men are somehow under attack in this country, when they are literally at the helm of every single political affiliation in this country, almost every single elected office in this country, there is a white man. But somehow Bernie can go to Andrew Schultz, who feels like he's a victim because he was held accountable for the fuck shit that came out of his mouth, and make white men the victim again. This isn't surprising to people that have been paying attention to Bernie for a while now. I personally haven't really been paying attention to him that much because, to me, he's been irrelevant for a couple of years now. But what this shows me about Bernie Sanders and people that support Bernie is they are narcissists and a lot of them are racist. They are narcissists and a lot of them are racist. Not saying that Bernie himself is racist, but it's kind of, sounding like you are catering to white bigots, Bernie. Especially if you are pretending, and you are definitely pretending, that white men are somehow the victims here. They're not. You're not, Bernie. The Bernie bros were misogynist, and there were instances where they were being anti-black, specifically in their engagement with black people online. And the fact that you are willing to ignore that and pretend that this is somehow the Democratic establishment's hit job on your supporters really shows us, exactly who you are. And that's the reason why black people are always on it. There's a reason why you don't have a lot of black support. And now we know. Mask off. Right, Bernie? Mask off? Yeah.
All you need to do to activate the racist chip and people on the left is say something negative about Bernie Sanders. That's it. That's it. We didn't need this past year to tell us how much anti-blackness was engaging in leftism discourse. We didn't need this past year to tell us how many people in the name of progress are excited to use slurs against black people. How many people on the left side, and yes, I'm talking about leftist all the way to progressives and moderates, do not actually care about the issues and will indefinitely defend any of their favorites against their behaviors because of the fact that they feel like anybody who says anything contrary should just be grateful that they are included at all. We didn't need this last year to tell us that. Ever since the era of the pussy hats, I could have told you easily that time period told us so much about what we needed to know. The fact that people will hold somebody like Bernie Sanders as the pinnacle of progress, despite the fact the man has been a senator for 30 plus years, but I won't go into that right now. The fact that people will hold Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a feminist icon when she refused to hire black staff. There's so many more people. I could go on and on and on and on about this, but it is consistently present in everything on this side of the work. And it probably will stay present for a very long time until these people learn to recognize that just because you are somebody who cares about people, because you consider yourself being on the morally good side of the political spectrum, doesn't mean that you are morally superior. And it doesn't mean that you're incapable of having biases and engaging in those biases. But anyways, that's for another conversation.
I know that isn't the person that y'all tried to tear me up for saying that he panders to racist white men and that he can be the face of progressive movements because he has the same ideologies and engages in the same tactics and rhetoric as his conservative counterparts. I know that's not him. Listen to these clips and you tell me if this doesn't sound like Donald Trump when he's avoiding to take accountability and is just blaming it on the media.
Followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the...
Oh, wow. Okay.
And said that we were sexist and and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Bernie Sanders doesn't pander to racist white men. Whose podcast is he on? He's aligning himself with the person who literally engaged in racist behavior, racist rhetoric, sexist behavior, sexist rhetoric. And then he's trying to relate to Bernie Sanders. This is what I'm saying.
Then you got to what we call identity politics. Yeah. You're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth. And rather than say, what do you stand for?
And there it is, the identity politics dog whistle, all the same conservative rhetoric, all the same conservative tactics, but I'm everything under the sun for saying that Bernie Sanders is not the person that you think he is because he literally does the same things that white men do. I'm everything under the sun for acknowledging that. It didn't take this interview to reaffirm that for me. But let's talk about this, black identity, gay identity, the positivity that you try to affirm in society and reducing that to identity politics. I have said continuously the problem with leftists is that they refuse to acknowledge the complex identities that individuals hold and the need to uplift those in society to actually get to a substantial place of change. And the fact that they always reduce that to identity politics is nothing more than the DEI dog whistle on the right. It is literally just a way to reduce the actual harms and limitations that are placed on people with specific identities in the society to make them further oppressed. Yes, black people and gay people literally have to reaffirm in society that they are good people because every single piece of legislation, all the media is literally aimed to target them to make them feel as though they are not. The legislation specifically, when we're talking about trying to change the system, it's literally aimed to make them feel like they aren't. So he engages in all the same conservative tactics, all the same conservative rhetoric. But when I acknowledge this, y'all try to send me the most fucking hate that anybody's ever received. He is not the face of progressiveness. If you think that you're a progressive or you want to make actual change, Bernie Sanders is not taking you there. Sorry.
I understand this reaction. I absolutely do. I know not everybody's going to agree with my take on Bernie Sanders. I understand because he represents something that Americans desperately need right now. Americans desperately need hope. Americans desperately need to believe that there is a better tomorrow. And Bernie Sanders does preach that there should be a better tomorrow. There should be a better life for people who do not already have all of the resources and all of the advantages at their disposal. But the point that I'm trying to make is also highlighted in the video that I tagged in the description. There is an apathy that people are very willing to engage in when it comes to marginalized communities, specifically black and brown communities. That apathy creeps in even for those who call themselves allies, even for those who stand on business for years. Because whether you like it or not, if you're not a part of these communities, if you're not black, if you're not Latino, if you're not disabled, if you're not in the LGBT community, if you are just a standard YT American, there is absolutely a certain level to which you can truly empathize with what is going on. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, even if you have all of the best intentions, even if you believe that everybody around you has very toxic ideologies and are very prejudiced, unfortunately, in this country, you are vastly outnumbered by people who do not feel as affected by those things. This does not make them all bad people. This does not make you a bad person, but there is a willingness to sort of push these issues to the side so that everybody can just live a comfortable life. This is why the conversation of black fatigue even started on this app. Do you realize that? The whole inspiration behind it were people feeling like there was a limit to how much they could care for these communities. And when I highlight these facts and I bring up Bernie Sanders, that is essentially what he's doing in this moment. He absolutely has been fighting for these things for decades. But even he has a limit. Even he can only empathize so much before he starts saying things like we need to look past those issues and focus on taking down the oligarchy. But this is a fact that will remain true. It will remain true in politics for the rest of time. The concept of identity politics being something that does not need to be addressed, it is it's ridiculous. Identity politics are absolutely what fuels all of politics. You're never going to be able to see effective policy change if you don't discuss identity politics, because we all have a bias. Everybody has an inherent bias. And so these rules, these policies are put into place in order to level the playing field against people's inherent bias. To say that we don't want to address leveling the playing field, to say that we are not interested in discussing those things because we have a bigger agenda, that's a problem. Just like my take on boomers versus millennials being a conflict that will go on for a long time. I understand there are a lot of people who did not agree with that. I totally understand people won't agree with this opinion as well. But that's why we do this, right? We do this to have these discussions, because if we don't have these discussions, guess what? Nothing will change.
And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
When I say you can't tell the difference between a white conservative and a white liberal, or in this case, a white progressive, you can't tell the difference. They're all white, and they will always disappoint you. This is why you don't put no trust in them. Bernie Sanders, now I know some of y'all gonna say, oh, AT2, you need to see the whole context of the conversation. No, his old mothball smelling ass, I know he meant that with his whole chest. I don't need to see the whole context of the conversation. It's always funny hearing white people talk about identity politics because they invented all that stuff, by the way. So it's all like, you're talking about something that you invented. Because let it be something to where they break it down by the working class. They're talking about white people. Christians, they're talking about white people. They even have different categories for white people. They have the college educated white people. They got the uneducated, the high school. You know, they have white people broken down in so many different sectors. When it comes to the black people and the coloreds, we always just one. Like, we don't get different breakdowns of who we are. This is one of the many reasons why Bernie Sanders struggles when it comes to black people. Just because he might have some black people surrounding him, don't make him one of us or one of the people, or he understands our plight at all. It does not excuse him at all. And I want to even further say, don't forget, every time they bring up reparations, they're like, what's reparations? What reparations? You know what the reparations is. You know what it is when it comes to those Jewish people. You know what it is when it came to the Japanese. You know what that is, which you said you agree with. But when it comes to reparations for black people, and Bernie will make arguments about it's not race, it's about class. I understand there's a class issue in America. However, you can't separate the two. Class definitely falls back into race, especially when it comes to black people. The reason why colleges aren't free, because they didn't want us to have it. The reason why we don't have Medicare for all, because they don't want us to have it. Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, they can talk about, oh, it'd be too expensive. No, they just don't want us to have those things. If you look at the history of why we don't have those things for free, yeah, they don't want us, the coloreds, to have it. And what pisses me off when he said the whole, oh, because you black, you're a great person. No black person has ever got anywhere in this country or a position anywhere because they were black or based off the color of their skin. If a black person got a job or a position, trust me, they earned that shit. Or I don't know if he's saying like people villainize white people versus if you're black or some kind of marginalized group, they say, oh, you're great, you're perfect. That has never happened. Like, what are you talking about? That has never happened. Like, oh, because you're black, that means you're great, or that means you're this. More than likely, it's the total opposite. They think you a thug, you ain't got no daddy in your life, you on welfare, you on food stamps. So I don't know what Bernie was trying to say right there, but definitely no.
This is all I got from this video. And before I start off, I am going to say that I heard somebody said they don't care about color. Black people are not colored. Please don't color or brown, whoever people. Black people are black people. So I do not appreciate when people, like, try to call black people colored or something. I don't know. That is like, a slur. Don't use that again. So, um, I've been talking so much on not trusting anything that man or woman, ally or something, that if I see you talking something great that will help my people, that I can only amplify your voice and move on, that I do not believe in anybody anymore. I've been saying this since last week, struck this week. And this is also what I mean. What this particular one is also part of the reason. And I don't even know that I've been saying this video because I've really been very busy. If you notice that my post dropped, like, the amount of videos that I put dropped, I have been very busy. But I am trying as much as I can to still bring something to the table, right? And I got to listen to his video with Andrew Shaw's. Like, why did he even go to Andrew Shaw's show, podcast to talk? What was he talking about? And then he ended up with identity politics. Now, let me tell you this. I don't care how progressive or how good you are or how great you are, but if you do not believe in identity politics, it means we are black. You and black people are not on the same page, because that must really be considered before anything. I don't know if that does make sense. Race and the rest of it, sex and the rest of it, those are the things that should be. Now, for him to say, listen to black people. If you do not listen to black people, I mean, that it's your problem, not mine. Why am I saying this? I am saying this because black people will tell you, do you want to know somebody? This person is okay for you. This person is not okay for you. And just give it time. You definitely will see how great the person is or how ungreat the person is. Just give it time. Now, Bernie Sanders, that a lot of people, a lot of people do have faith or have hope in people like this. And now, if he could say this on live broadcast, right? Can imagine sometimes I am not even scared about the things they say on live broadcast or something. I am scared. The ones we do not know. The ones that did not make it to the media, those ones are really the ones that are. So this thing he said has given him away. Forget about somebody trying to say he's the one that said that he's the one that can understand you. Anyone that understands how you've been treated, on how you've struggled so bad to be who you are, or working so hard to dismantle the system, that you and I or him also knew that the system is affecting you. If the person could say this, unfortunately, the person doesn't mean well. Sometimes something might slip out of your tongue. That is who you are. It's something you've been having in mind. It's something that you've been nurturing. So this is not something that just came out of his mouth. It's something that he has been saying, maybe not on the media or live broadcast or anything, but it's something that I can tell you that if you put a lie dictator or something, ask questions, that will be dictated. I am not in for anybody anymore. You see all these people that say I do not care at this point in time, because for how many years that I've been doing this job, and I have listened to my people, and everything they have said from A to Z, they are all happening. How do you want me to trust anybody again? And they have also proven, not just telling you, they have also proven to you that there is no need for you to rely or depend or to put your hope on me. Now, what is it with them that always they always feel that they always have to be the victims? They are the victims. How? How did they play this game? Like, everything they have said, like, I'm just amplifying their voices because they said everything great. He is not progressive. He is regressive. And that it's on period. They don't know what reparation is, not until it is for the Holocaust survivor or people that and the Japanese. reparations. They don't know what it means. And this is part of the reason why each time I scream about reparations, and I say that there is need for them to fix all the things they have done wrong. Man, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this man, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Like I have been saying since I don't know, but it's me saying that I do not trust anybody, any ally, because they are like, I don't know how to describe it. You know, gum, the way you chew gum for some minutes and trash it. That's how it is. See you all in my next video. Keep standing tall, my people. I love you. Bye for now.